When I was a kid, my best friend, Dan Tureen, his dad had this beautiful Harman Kardon separate system. Like this big. Patrick Bateman also had one. However, as a 12-year-old with exactly $0, my reality looked a little bit different. Although I had aspirations for a beautiful separate system, what I got was a 12-watt realistic receiver that I bought from a furniture store in rural Nebraska, an Emerson CD player from Walmart, and a really crappy tape deck. For decades, the world of high fidelity was an exclusive club that only people with money could get into. Think about it, in the 70s, some of these receivers cost $1,000. But hi-fi has been democratized. The landscape has changed, and whether it's good or bad, it doesn't matter. But now we have choices. So sit down, grab a cup of coffee, maybe join the Cam Coffee Club and get a free Cam Coffee mug and a delicious different flavor of coffee each month. Link in the description. And let's talk about how hi-fi has changed in the last 50 years and the products that have changed it. Specifically, one product that you should take a look at. If you're my age or older, you know what I'm talking about. The beautiful, the wonderful, separate systems. I mean, come on, these things were like a flex when you had people over, and people actually had people over in the 70s and 80s. It's not like now when the doorbell rings and you get upset. When the doorbell rang in the 70s and 80s, you're like, oh, put on the coffee, Mom, and put some cookies in the oven. We've got guests. Now I'm looking for my firearm if the doorbell rings at 7 p.m. Times have changed, but also for hi-fi. Marantz, Technics, Pioneer, and then Macintosh. You had separate amplifiers, separate preamps, a separate tuner, a separate EQ, and of course your sources, tape decks, turntables, CD players. It was a commitment of not only space in your living room, but also money, because it was expensive and it was the norm. And in the 80s, things kind of changed a little bit to the digital receiver. And then in the 90s, there was another shift to home theater. Everyone wanted to have that multi-channel surround system that when you watch Jurassic Park on VHS, you try to get the glass to shake when the T-Rex came. And that was all cool. That was all different. But at that point, for the masses, for most people, not audiophiles, but for most people, having a fancy high-dollar separate system was replaced with having a fancy multi-channel home theater system that you could buy at Sears, which incidentally is where I bought my first multi-channel home theater system. It's actually a pretty cool time back then. You go into Montgomery Ward, they had a whole wall of speakers. It was awesome. But in the background at the time, even though at Best Buy everybody was looking at the multi-channel receivers, 2-channel started to make a quiet resurgence. Wasn't receivers, now it was integrated amplifiers. And for the most dedicated of audiophile, the desire for that separate system never really went away. So, while companies like Yamaha and Marantz were still making 2-channel integrated amplifiers, it left a wide open space for some crazy direct-to-customer brands that did something weird, and that was sell on the internet. Emotiva came on the scene and they started making not only integrated amplifiers, not only home theater processors and multi-channel home theater amplifiers, but also separate 2-channel components, a separate preamp, a separate amplifier. 2010, Schit Audio came on the scene and they changed things up even more because they offer pure analog preamps with nothing in it. No DAC, no phono stage, just a bunch of analog switches at an affordable price. And then about 10 years later, something else happened. Direct to customer import super cheap products. Fosi Audio, IEMA, SMSL, Topping. Dozens to choose from. They all sounded pretty terrible and they all kind of looked the same. But over the last 5 years, some of those companies have risen above. They've started leaving some of their competition in the rear view. And this, my friends, is the Fosi Audio Preamp, the ZP3. It's $200. Now, if you want to skip over the portion about the Fosi Audio ZP3 Preamp and get back to the history, then I put timestamps down there at the bottom. So now we have true democratization of separate components. You can build a separate system for about $600 now, which can grow with you. And while there are other companies out there that offer separate preamps, separate amplifiers, separate sources, most of them are still pretty expensive. Fosi Audio also has a bit of a history. Around 5 years ago when I started the channel, I reviewed it wasn't the TP10D, it was the Fosi Audio, anyway, it was a 2-channel Bluetooth amplifier. 80 bucks or 90 bucks. It sounded pretty good, had tone controls on it. While they sounded good, it would also throw a spark about the size of a pea if you had the power brick plugged in and then you got the little barrel connector too close. Pop. Even in the manual, they said, make sure you plug it in first into the back of the amplifier and then plug the power brick into the wall. Fosi Audio has come a long way since then. They've introduced crowd-funded amplifiers with Japanese components, removable, swappable op amps, Texas Instruments amp chips that sound really good. Now they have speakers. They're working on a turntable. They have CD players. And they listen to the customer. I remember I gave the Fosi Audio TP10D, the first generation, a pretty terrible review. And you know what they did? They changed things and they sent me an email and they said, here's a new one. Please give it a listen, but no pressure. They weren't trying to bully me into making a new video. They listened to the video and they made something better. But let's talk more about the ZP3. So Fosi went from being like everybody else, and I think has really risen above even SMSL and topping. Not from necessarily a measurement standpoint, but from a feature standpoint. I truly think that they're one of the only companies out there that fit within this niche that really listen to their customer. It's a pretty lightweight preamp, but to be fair, there's a lot of preamps that are pretty lightweight. The Emotiva preamp, the Macintosh C5 preamp that I had. And one of the things about a preamp that I never really gave enough credence to is how much the preamp section can affect the overall sound of your system. And some people say, well, duh, the preamp is where most of the personality comes from. But let's get back to this. On the front, you have their really cool orange knob. That's another thing about Fosi Audio, is they're starting to get the styling right. They're even starting to get the packaging right. So everything from Fosi is starting to become more of a premium experience, but yet at basically an affordable price. I mean, $200 for a fully functional preamp? Okay, get back to it. Orange volume knob, because that's kind of their color now. Then you have tone controls. Right here is treble, then you have bass, and more importantly, you have balance control. So if one of your speakers is right next to a wall in your living room or your office, and there's open space on the other one, well, you can dial in the balance control to get that center image, which guess what? Most of the stuff from the 70s and 80s had balance control. I don't know what happened to balance control. If you know, put it in the comments. Like, at what point did people stop putting balance controls on integrated amplifiers and preamps? Okay. Then power button right here. Also changes inputs. Inputs, somewhat limited. 2 analog inputs, 1 balanced analog input. I wish there was one more RCA, because not everybody has something that has balanced outputs. But Fosi Audio also offers the ZD3, which is their DAC, which has HDMI, and it also has balanced outputs. But just keep in mind that if you have more than 2 analog inputs that you want to put into this, then it's not going to work unless one of them is balanced. Another thing that's very interesting about this is it has features that other preamps don't have at double, triple, 4 times the price. But you have to turn it upside down. Because on the bottom, you have this. This is a switchable high-pass filter. Now, first bit of criticism. The first one looks to be full range. It's 20 hertz up to 20,000 hertz. The second one is 80 up to 20,000 hertz. And the third one is 120. I would rather have seen something that either just eliminated the high pass, like off, and then maybe 60, 80, 100. I think 120 is too high, and I don't really think that we need a 20 or a full range signal. So off, 60, 80, 100. Either way, 80 hertz is pretty good, but a lot of people have really good speakers that can easily hit 60. I think 60 would be oh so nice, but it's okay. It's something. And then right here you have tone control bypass, which means you can shut down the tone control section. I tried it. I didn't particularly hear a difference, and frankly, I like having a little bit of tone controls. From a competition standpoint, there isn't really a lot out there from a pure analog preamp outside of shit. I think the greatest contribution to the customer that these direct-to-customer import companies offer is a true democratization of separates, buying separate components. More importantly, though, the ability to build an awesome system over time. And I'll give you an example. This is the Fosi Audio ZA3. It's an amplifier. You can get one, you can hook up a single source to it, and you can control volume right here. Great, right? In a pinch, you could take a 3.5 millimeter output from your computer, plug it into here, and plug in a pair of speakers, and you have a computer system. The point is you can get an amplifier for $150 or way less. Affordable, right? The other cool thing about this product is it has swappable op amps, which means later on, when you have another $100 or $50 or whatever it is, you can add something like a Sparkos op amp to this to really up the ante. Or if you want something warm, you can add a Burson. And on this amp, you can also switch it to mono mode, which means you can get another one, more power. Then you have channel separation too. Build your system. You could add this. This is the Fosi Audio ZD3, which is a DAC. Now I'm using these as an example. This is not a Fosi Audio commercial. This can be applied to Duoc. This can be applied to Weem. This can be applied to Emotiva or Skit. So on this product, you have an HDMI connection, you have a USB connection, optical connection, coaxial connection. So in essence, this can be a digital preamp because you have volume control, you have a remote control. So that can be added later for another $150. So over the time span of 3 to 6 months, you can start and have music going right away with this in a computer. Later, you can add your DAC for about another $150. Now you have your TV, computer, hook up a CD player via optical. Then you can buy another ZA3, more power, better channel separation. Now you can add a true separate preamp for $200. So you don't have to buy everything at once. Over time, you can save up and continue to add different products. And the ZP3 also has swappable op amps. So not only can you tailor your amplifier to what you like, your DAC to what you like, but also your preamp to what you like. How does it sound? Sounds great. It's an achievement. At $200, it's bananas. It's not thin, it's not fat, it's neutral. Has a bunch of audiophile components too. They thought about this when they designed it. But I tried to make this video not about this product. I tried to make this video about what this product and others like it actually represent. Because I love Emotiva and I love Skit. And now there's even a more affordable option. The other thing I don't love about this product is it's the first product to have an internal power supply from Fosi, I think, which is good. That's an evolution. They're getting better. However, you could probably run this thing off of 12 volts. And if you ran it off of 12 volts, well, you can use an external power supply. Specifically, a linear power supply, like a toroidal power supply. which I know probably shouldn't make a difference to the electrical engineers out there, but anecdotally and also the experience of dozens of my patrons tells me that adding a high quality linear power supply always makes a bit of a difference. Obviously, I think this is great for the customer because we have more choices. We have more choices at a lower price, and we have more of an upgrade path that you don't have to be locked in to one system all at once. I hear the argument all the time. Well, by the time you buy 3 of those, you might as well just go out and buy a high quality blank, whatever it is, insert here, or buy a used blank, insert here. I didn't have $500 when I was 12. I could come up with $200 probably would have been a stretch, but I could have done it even when I was 12. For a lot of people out there, $150 is a big outlay. That can buy a lot of food for the family. But at the end of a year, you can have an entire separate system. And there's options out there for CD players too, like that SMSL. I think that's about $100. You can buy an old used CD player. You can buy a turntable for $200 from U-Turn and Fluence. So these products are awesome. And for what these products do for the customer that's on a super tight budget, it's a triumph. It's amazing. We live in an amazing time because the future of companies like Marantz, Onkyo, Pioneer that are owned by big conglomerate companies, we don't know what their future looks like. And hopefully it all works out. And whatever those companies do with those brands, hopefully it lives up to their legacy. The takeaway is it's never been a better time for someone to be into hi-fi and be on a tight budget. Because you have options like these import direct-to-customer products, all at a lower price than I could do it in 1985. And that's something to be excited about. And you can also add a cassette deck to this, which TX still makes a new one. And if you like cassettes, I just put out a video about cassettes. There is some used cassettes on eBay are going for $6,000. I will link that video right up here or here. So if you want to be outraged or just entertained at the pure craziness of cassette pricing, well, check that video out. You'll love it. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please consider subscribing. If you didn't like this video, well, I appreciate you making it this far.